These are more, this is evening wear. And this is a fringe scarf with gold and on the right, with the gold and pink fabric. And the one on the left is also not fringed, but it also is has a bow in the back and is on silk. They're both brocades. I couldn't think of that word. Sometimes I get a little. The one on the left, have a good look at it, because this is my studio, and I'm photographing this dress, and I wanted you to see the inside of my studio, all the reflectors that are aimed at this. You know, sometimes when you put a light on a garment, it just falls dead. And that's the same with jewelry, with anything. You really have to give it a lot of help. And so this shows you the whole structure of studio shooting, and what's handy, you just grabbed to put any light where it's going to enhance this fabric. This is a fringed shawl. It's a big circular shawl. And I wanted to do just the back of it. So I orchestrated this, and exactly, it took me several days to do this. And if you've never photographed a fringe on a shawl, you know, you have to take the fringe comes all crinkled and very tangled. So you have to untangle the fringe one strand at a time. And then after you've untangled it, you have to steam it. And this is an example of the care that goes into photographing a fringe shawl. When I was in Santa Barbara, I've discovered, and it shows you in my history, which I'll show you in just a minute, they had a little, the Salvation Army on State Street had a little room upstairs filled, what they called in those days were old clothes. Vintage clothes wasn't invented yet at that time. We're talking 1955, 56. And piles and piles of clothes that came out of the estates of Montecito. And you could rent these for $1 a day for Halloween or for parties or anything you wanted to do. Well, I saw this coat and I said, this is incredible. They can't have this coat. I've got to have it to photograph. And I bought it thinking that someday maybe I might take a picture of it. This is in the 1956. And finally in 1995, with this project, here you see the coat. A lot of collectors loan me things, and I was very grateful for a collector by the name of Ted Gonzalez, who lent me this beautiful evening dress to photograph. It's couture. It's I'm not sure of the pronunciation on this, but it's boussure. And on the opposite page, I have a close-up of the fabrication of this and also the label. Also, someone lent me this clothes, this opera coat. I describe them as lotus leaves and lotus seeds, or lotus pods maybe, but the dress is in my collection, and she loaned me this for a couple of weeks, and I worked on it. She outbid me at an auction for this, and she was very gracious enough to, after I showed her the film, she was very excited. She thought it would be a great opportunity to have this fashion recorded, and she was right. Another collector, Mark Walsh in New York, he collects nothing but Fortuny. He has this incredible collection of Fortuny dresses, and I wanted to illustrate the most common one that was purchased in the 1920s is the Delphos gown, and this is an example of this. And I had seen an illustration in Vogue or Harper's Bazaar, I can't remember where they had the shadow on the wall, and it was on a very horizontal surface. And so I draw my ideas from illustrations like this, and it's great fun to try to see if it's going to work for this project. Here too is 1920. This is an evening jacket that has all blossoms appliqued into this contrasting two-tone jacket. And this also was loaned to me. This is a robe de style, and this was loaned to me by Beverly Burks, who also collects clothes, and it's now in the Kobe Museum in Japan. And this is a vintage champagne-colored velvet, and the necklace that the mannequin is wearing on the right is a Chanel, and it's costume jewelry, which he made, which he was pretty much brought the costume jewelry out of sort of a look-down kind of thing into popularity at that time in the 1920s. And this is late teens or early 20s headpiece for evening. Now this mannequin that you see here, the profile, that's not the profile of the mannequin that I purchased. I added a little bit of clay to the nose to give it a little aquiline look. These are cloches for evening. I'm going to end this with quickly with some bridal pictures, and this is 1927. I have the actual black and white picture of this bride, and trust me, she doesn't look anything like this. This is 1929 handkerchief dress in ecru, and this is an all-lace dress. It was so fragile that if you touched it, sometimes your finger felt like it could go right through the lace. The person who let me photograph this had sold it to someone who wanted to wear this down the aisle. I doubt if it ever got to the preacher because it was so fragile.